Ted Cruz finishes first in Iowa, not Donald Trump, who finished second.
God bless the great state of Iowa.
Trump had a small lead in the Iowa polls, so this was a minor surprise. Rubio finishes in a strong third. Every other candidate is considered a big loser. Trump gives a surprisingly humble Iowa concession speech.
I'm just honored. I'm really honored. And I want to congratulate Ted, and I want to congratulate all of the incredible candidates.
Perhaps a sign of confidence in his position in the New Hampshire primary, which is only 7 days away. Referring to the upcoming New Hampshire primary, Jeb Bush says next Tuesday we're going to surprise the world. Chris Christie sets his sights on Rubio, who is riding a wave of Rubio-mentum after his strong finish in Iowa, attacking the Florida senator's canned speeches.
We know who the boy in the bubble is up here, who never answers your questions, who's constantly scripted and controlled.
Rubio criticizes Obama for giving a speech at a mosque, saying he was being divisive. Rand Paul drops out of the race.
Although today I will suspend my campaign for the presidency.
The most iconic moment of the Jeb Bush campaign falls into our collective laps.
To get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.
Kasich jokingly promises to reunite the band Pink Floyd.
I am going to once and for all try to reunite Pink Floyd.
That same day, we learn more about the newness of Kasich's nice guy persona. Trump changes his tune, now accusing Cruz of illegally stealing Iowa with fraud and calls for a new election.
Actually, I think I came in first because if you take a look, okay? Oh, that voter fraud!
Christie hits Rubio again, saying that even when Rubio attacks him, Rubio has to read from a piece of paper. Jeb wins over a voter.
In the world.
My vote.
Barbara Bush gets out on the campaign trail for Jeb.
I apologize, Mom. I called Donald Trump a jerk. When he disparaged people with disabilities. It's just not right.
Rubio-mentum materializes as Marco Rubio gains in the national polls. Debate night, 3 days before the New Hampshire primary, starts with a bang of awkwardness.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz.
Businessman Donald Trump.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush.
Chris Christie, whose low-polling campaign is on borrowed time, kamikazes the overly rehearsed Rubio.
And let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. I think the experience is not just what you did, but how it worked out. Under Chris Christie's governorship of New Jersey, they've been downgraded 9 times in their credit rating. This country already has a debt problem. We don't need to add to it by electing someone who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state. But I would add this, let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
You see, everybody, I want the people at home to think about this. That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him.
Facts. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly
there it is,
what he's
the memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the reason why this campaign is so important.
To the Gang of 8 bill first.
Well, here's the response. I think anyone who believes that Barack Obama isn't doing what he's doing on purpose doesn't understand what we're dealing with here. Okay, this is a president who is trying to change this country.
Also, Ben Carson complains about time again.
Well, thank you. I was hoping to get a chance to talk about North Korea. I was the only one who didn't get to do that.
Jeb Bush sports shoes with Scotch tape holding them together. Trump lets it rip on Bush.
This is a stiff. This is a guy that if he came looking for a job, you'd say, no, thank you. He's a sad person who is gone absolutely crazy. I mean, this guy he's a nervous wreck. I've never seen anything like it.
Poor Jeb Bush, who brings out his mother because he needed help. No, he needed help. Mommy, please come walk in the snow, Mom.
He also comments on Rubio's debate collapse.
I'm watching Marco sweating like a dog on my right.
New Hampshire holds his primary. Trump finishes in a strong first. Kasich nabs second, Cruz third, Bush fourth, and Rubio finishes in fifth after Christie's attacks and his malfunction on the debate stage. Carly Fiorina drops out. Chris Christie drops out. The Cruz campaign pulls an ad after learning one of the actors had starred in softcore porn. Influential Supreme Court conservative Antonin Scalia dies suddenly, opening up a crucial vacancy that can swing the ideological tilt of the evenly divided court. So at a rowdy South Carolina debate, Trump and his Republican colleagues all agree on a strategy for what to do with the Supreme Court vacancy.
It's called delay, delay, delay.
Trump really misquotes Jeb Bush.
2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody, and that's fine. Nobody reports that.
Trump then turns to Cruz.
It's a matter of principle, and I'll tell you.
You are the single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar.
Kasich continues with the good guy persona.
What I've been watching here, this back and forth, and these attacks, some of them are personal. I think we're fixing to lose the election to Hillary Clinton if we don't stop this.
And Ben Carson keeps plugging his website.
Let me just mention on the tax issue, bencarson.com, go read about it. Well, first of all, please go to my website, bencarson.com, and read my immigration policy.
Jeb Bush, who needs a strong performance in South Carolina to go on, finally brings out the big guns. See, George W. Bush, as a former president, had very little desire to jump back into the political fray, especially to promote a failing campaign. But now Jeb had no other options.
I'm proud of his candidacy, and I'm really proud to have been invited.
Ted Cruz attacks the military for providing gluten-free meals. Cruz reaffirms that he will not appoint a replacement to the Scalia seat until after the election.
For 80 years, it has been the practice that the Senate has not confirmed any nomination made during an election year. And we shouldn't make an exception now. I think this is a matter of policy, that during a lame duck period, we should not be confirming a Supreme Court nomination.
Mark Cuban says he'd be open to being Trump's vice president. South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley endorses Rubio. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott had also endorsed Rubio. Marco Rubio talks about his love of EDM music, trying to describe it in a way that's acceptable to Republican voters.
In the last few years, what's happened with EDM, you've got these electronic these disc jockeys or these DJs that are taking electronic music and overlaying it with tracks from country music and all sorts of things, and so the lyrics are clean. So
Have you ever been to a rave?
Well, no, I've never been to a rave. No, never been to a rave.
Well, I don't know.
The Republican primary ended.
Kasich shares a moment with an emotional supporter.
I found hope, and I found it in the Lord and in my friends, and now I've found it in my presidential candidate that I support, and I'd really appreciate one of those hugs you've been talking about.
John Kasich talks about his taste in music.
Fall Out Boy is one of them, you know. I like Linkin Park.
Trump brags about his relationship with Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson was actually a very good friend of mine. I knew Michael Jackson very well, lived in Trump Tower for a long period of time.
Trump continues to go after Cruz.
He holds up the Bible, and then he lies. I think it's very inappropriate.
The Cruz campaign pushes a photoshopped image of Marco Rubio shaking hands with President Obama. Marco Rubio slides in the national polls, with Trump in first, Cruz in second, Rubio in third, Kasich in fourth, Carson in fifth, and Bush in sixth. Trump wins South Carolina by a large margin. Rubio edges out Cruz for second, although they nearly tied. Jeb Bush finishes in a distant fourth. Jeb Bush drops out after his poor South Carolina showing.
I am suspending my campaign. Yeah.
Trump now questions Rubio's citizenship, the only Hispanic in the race besides Cruz, whose citizenship Trump also questioned. Kasich says women left their kitchens to support him.
Many women who left their kitchens.
Your comment earlier about the women came out of the kitchen to support you, I'll come to support you, but I won't be coming out of the kitchen.
I gotcha.
Trump wins Nevada by a large margin.
We will be celebrating for a long time tonight. Have a good time. Have a good time.
Rubio finishes in second and Cruz in third. Ben Carson has a memorable debate.
The fruit salad of their life is what I will look at.
I get a response to that.
You will have a response, but I promised Governor Kasich he could respond. Can somebody attack me, please?
Okay, here, Wolf.
Trump gets vicious against his two main rivals.
First of all, this guy's a joke artist, and this guy's a liar.
Donald, relax.
Go ahead. I'm relaxed. You're the basket case. Go ahead. Go ahead. Don't get nervous.
Chaos breaks out.
Well, hold on. I'm going to get my answer. He doesn't get to yell in the whole time.
I want to move on. These are the rules.
He called me a liar and then interrupted the whole time.
You've had a chance.
Do I not get a response? Do I not get a response without...
Chris Christie endorses Trump, most likely in hopes of being his vice president. Lindsey Graham makes some more comments on the current state of his party.
My party is going bat crazy. The nice guy is Ben Carson. He tried to kill his cousin and hit his mother in the head with a hammer. He's the one we all like.
I would hit people with hammers and bats, throw rocks at people. Almost put a guy's eye out one time. Tried to even hit my own mother in the head with a hammer.
How did I lose to these guys?
All out of Rubio momentum and polling poorly in upcoming states, Marco changes strategy and gets down in the mud with Trump.
This guy is a con artist. I mean, he's always making things up and no one holds him accountable for it.
He wanted a full-length mirror. Maybe to make sure his pants weren't wet. I don't know.
Trump responds.
He's a nervous basket case. I watched Chris take a man apart, and I looked at him, and honestly, I thought he was going to die, Rubio. He was so scared, like a little frightened puppy. And he kept saying the Obama phrase over and over. I said, this guy's cracking up on us. And he was sweating so badly. I have never seen anything like it. It looked like he just jumped into a swimming pool with his clothing on. And he's like this. And we were, I need water. Help me. I need water. Help. It's Rubio.
Trump is asked if he condemns the support he's receiving from the former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke.
Just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay?
Would you just say, unequivocally, you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about.
I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but...
I don't know, honestly, I don't know David Duke.
Side note, even when I was doing research for the Jesse Ventura video, I found a Trump quote from the year 2000 talking about David Duke and the Reform Party, pretty much saying that he didn't want to be in the same political party as Duke because the guy was a Klansman and a neo-Nazi. Rubio does almost like a stand-up routine roasting the Donald.
Donald is not going to make America great. He's going to make America orange. He doesn't sweat. He doesn't sweat because his pores are clogged from the spray tan that he uses. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me, he's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands? You can't trust them. You can't trust them.
Kasich asked about the possibility of being a vice president.
Zero chance, Stuart. Just stop there. Zero chance.
11 states, mostly Southern, vote on Super Tuesday, and Trump wins big, racking up an almost 2-to-1 delegate lead over second place Ted Cruz. Rubio only wins one state, Minnesota. Trump is now the clear favorite, and his delegate lead will be difficult to overcome. Trump responds to Rubio's criticism of his hands.
I've always had people say, Donald, you have the most beautiful hands. He said I had small hands. They're not small, are they? I never heard that one before.
Oh, yes, he did, says the editor of Vanity Fair, who once described Trump as a short-fingered vulgarian.
And ever since, the editor Graydon Carter says he receives envelopes from Trump, always with a photo on which he circled his hand to highlight the length of his fingers, usually with a note reading, "See, not so short."
Trump hits Rubio on his tendency to skip Senate votes.
Don't worry about it, little Marco.
Gentlemen, gentlemen.
You ought to show up.
Gentlemen, you gotta do better than this.
This guy has the number one
Mr. Trump, may I ask you, Mr. Trump, I'd like to ask you a policy question. Your proposed...
Trump brings up the hand thing again.
He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it. All right. Okay. Moving on.
Trump once again defends the size of his hands.
So when little Marco spews his about the size of my hands, which are big, the size of my hand, those hands can hit a golf ball 285 yards, right? Those are good, strong. So what do? For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands. Little hands. Take that guy.
Ben Carson drops out.
Now that I am leaving the campaign trail,
Contests continue to happen over the next week, and the delegate hall is mostly split by Trump and Cruz. Arnold Schwarzenegger endorses Kasich.
He was an action hero when he went to Washington.
Trump says he'd consider Kasich as running mate.
I would say that the answer is yes. I certainly would. I would. Absolutely.
Ben Carson endorses Donald Trump. Cruz accuses Trump of inciting violence at his rallies.
You have a campaign that affirmatively encourages violence.
If Republicans want to stop Trump, they're going to have to do it here on Super Tuesday 2, the biggest voting day left on the calendar. Trump sweeps every state and territory except for Ohio, which voted for its favorite son, John Kasich. Rubio even loses his home state of Florida. Marco Rubio drops out.
While today my campaign is suspended.
And now there is 3. Trump says his supporters could riot if he loses the nomination.
I think you'd have riots.
Rubio stays committed to his promise, saying he won't run for re-election to the Senate. Lindsey Graham endorses Ted Cruz, whom he joked about murdering less than a month ago.
If you kill Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate, I'm going to help Ted in every way I can.
Ted Cruz says police need to patrol and secure Muslim neighborhoods. Trump agrees with Cruz's statement. Kasich criticizes it. Trump wins Arizona, Cruz wins Utah. Jeb Bush endorses Ted Cruz. Trump attacks Ted Cruz's wife, Heidi, on her looks. Ted Cruz gets mad.
I don't get angry often. But you mess with my wife, you mess with my kids, that'll do it every time. Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
The tabloid National Enquirer comes out with a story outlining alleged Cruz affairs. Cruz says that Trump, who was allied with the Enquirer, had his henchmen plant the story.
This garbage does not belong in politics.
Yet another article comes out about how John Kasich's sweet and cuddly persona runs contrary to his actual personality through the years.
Jeez, oh man.
On Jimmy Kimmel, Ted Cruz jokes about running over Trump in his car.
If I were in my car and getting ready to reverse and saw Donald in the backup camera, I'm not confident which pedal I put.
Trump is asked if women should be punished for having abortions.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
He continues to flip-flop on the issue as he backtracks the next day. Ahead of the New York primary, Kasich goes to Queens and eats pizza with a fork, a cardinal sin in New York politics.
The sausage is really good.
The world learns of Kasich's deep hatred for the movie Fargo.
It rubbed us in so many wrong ways, we had to shut the thing off right there in the middle.
Eventually, he goes in there, he says he eventually led a one-man campaign to get Blockbuster to drop the movie Fargo, to not carry it.
Yeah.
Trump promises to eliminate the entirety of the U.S. national debt in 8 years. Ted Cruz wins Wisconsin. Kasich eats his fill in the Bronx.
Never use a fork.
Grandma's recipe.
Beautiful.
Kasich reiterates his interest in being Trump's vice president.
Donald Trump says that he would consider picking you as his vice presidential candidate. Would you run with him?
Zero chance.
Zero chance.
Yes.
What if that's the best chance for the party? If at the
Zero
time the
chance.
Republican
Los Angeles rappers YG and Nipsey Hussle get political.
Donald Trump, yeah, Donald Trump, yeah, Donald Trump.
Trump cleans up in New York, netting more delegates than almost any other state. At this point, it's clear, even though the field is thinned out, voters who didn't like Trump were not moving toward one alternative. And Trump still led national polls by a decent margin. See, the problem was that the most viable alternative in terms of voter support was Ted Cruz, and the Republican establishment might have hated Cruz more than they hated Trump. Candidates they preferred, like Rubio and Kasich, got just minuscule amounts of support from actual voters. So as a result, the establishment couldn't get behind a Trump alternative in time with the unified force necessary to defeat him. Trump comes out against the controversial North Carolina bathroom bill that made trans people go to the bathroom of the sex they were assigned at birth.
So if Caitlyn Jenner were to walk into Trump Tower and want to use the bathroom, you would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses?
That is correct.
Ted Cruz criticizes Trump on his opposition to the bathroom bill.
Grown adult men, strangers, should not be alone in a bathroom with little girls.
Cruz and Kasich join forces, dividing their effort amongst different states in a last-ditch effort to stop Trump.
The divide and conquer agreement, Cruz's campaign will, quote, focus its time and resources in Indiana, and, quote, clear the path for Kasich in Oregon and New Mexico.
Their goal at this point was to deny Trump a delegate majority going into the convention, creating a chaotic, contested convention where anything could happen.
Kasich confirming the campaign collusion in a statement, writing that, quote, keeping Trump from a plurality in Indiana is critical to keeping him from the nomination. Trump lashing out on Twitter and issuing a lengthy statement, writing, collusion is often illegal in many other industries, and yet these two Washington insiders have had to revert to collusion in order to stay alive. They are mathematically dead, and this act only shows, as puppets of donors and special interests, how truly weak they and their campaigns are.
It's most likely a little too late for this strategy, as states have continued to reward Trump a majority of delegates since Super Tuesday 2. Cruz says, it is abundantly clear that nobody is getting to 1,237, which was a majority of delegates.
It's headed to a contested convention. And at a contested convention, I'll come in with a ton of delegates, Donald will come in with a ton of delegates. And it will be a battle to see who can earn a majority of the delegates elected by the people. Donald Trump is not getting to 1,237. Nobody's getting to 1,237.
Trump debuts his nickname for Kasich, and then he attacks him for not dropping out.
He's just a stubborn guy. That's all he is. He's a stubborn guy. He's like if you have a child who just says, I want it, Mommy. I don't care, Mommy. I want it, Daddy. I don't care. I want it. He's eating today, stuffing it. I never saw bites this big. He's pushing it in with his, I never saw a guy eat like this. I told my son, he was watching, he said, Daddy, look. I said, don't watch.
Trump also makes another promise.
You know, I tweeted today, @real Donald Trump, I tweet. And that's, you know, it solves it. Don't worry, I'll give it up after I'm president. We won't tweet anymore, I don't think. Not presidential.
He also talks about looking presidential.
Do I look like a president? How handsome am I, right? How handsome?
Trump sweeps what is known as the Acela primaries in the Northeast.
I consider myself the presumptive nominee, absolutely.
The upcoming Indiana primary is described as the true last gasp for the Stop Trump movement. Famous Indiana basketball coach Bobby Knight endorses Trump.
I think we're a little bit alike in that regard. If we're involved in something where we want to win, and particularly something that's necessary, if there's something out there where we need to win, we're going to try and beat your ass every time we can.
Ted Cruz also tries to relate to Hoosiers' love of basketball.
You know, the amazing thing is that basketball ring here in Indiana.
Coach, have you ever heard the rim called a ring before?
Well, I don't think I have. A guy that would come into this state and think that we played with rings instead of baskets is not a guy that's very well prepared to do a hell of a lot.
Desperate, Ted Cruz makes the extremely unorthodox move of naming his vice president without even having received the nomination.
I know two girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more. 'Cause we travel on the bus all day, we get to play. We get to play.
If I had my choice between Carly and the coach, I take the coach every single time that I get to.
The Indy Star, the Indianapolis big newspaper out there. There was one picture of Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina.
In the bottom left-hand corner.
And
right.
there were 3 big pictures of Bobby Knight and Donald Trump.
Former Republican Speaker of the House John Boehner calls Ted Cruz Lucifer in the flesh.
Boehner also said that he would be willing to vote for Trump if he's the nominee, but he would not vote for Ted Cruz if he becomes the nominee, right?
Under any circumstances, Carol.
Cruz dismisses Boehner's comments.
I kind of wondered if Boehner was auditioning to be Donald Trump's vice president.
Governor of Indiana Mike Pence says he will vote for Cruz in the primary.
I really admire the way Ted Cruz has been willing to stand up for taxpayers in opposing runaway spending, deficits, and debt, calling for and leading on repealing Obamacare.
I am honored, I am humbled to have Governor Pence's endorsement.
Trump accuses Ted Cruz's dad of helping to assassinate JFK.
What was he doing with Lee Harvey Oswald shortly before the death, before the shooting? It's horrible.
Ted Cruz really goes in on Trump.
This man is a pathological liar. He doesn't know the difference between truth and lies. He lies practically every word that comes out of his mouth. And he combines being a pathological liar. And I say pathological because I actually think Donald, if you hooked him up to a lie detector test, he could say one thing in the morning, one thing at noon, and one thing in the evening, all contradictory, and he'd pass the lie detector test each time. Whatever lie he's telling, at that minute, he believes it. The man cannot tell the truth, but he combines it with being a narcissist. The man is utterly amoral. Morality does not exist for him. Donald Trump is a serial philanderer, and he boasts about it. Donald is a bully. Bullies don't come from strength. Bullies come from weakness. Bullies come from a deep, yawning cavern of insecurity. There is a reason Donald builds giant buildings and puts his name on them everywhere he goes. And his strategy of being a bully, in particular, is directed at women. Donald is terrified by strong women. He lashes out at them. Think about the next 5 years. If this man were to become president. Think about the next 5 years. The boasting, the pathological lying, and I would say to the Hoosier state, the entire country is depending on you. The entire country is looking to you right now. It is only Indiana that can pull us back. It is only the good sense and good judgment of Indiana that can pull us back.
Trump dominates in Indiana. The establishment's last chance to stop Trump has failed spectacularly. Ted Cruz drops out.
With a heavy heart, but with boundless optimism for the long-term future of our nation, we are suspending our campaign.
John Kasich, the last piece of Trump opposition, drops out.
And as I suspend my campaign today, I have renewed faith, deeper faith, that the Lord will show me the way forward and fulfill the purpose of my life.
On Cinco de Mayo, Trump tries to patch things up with the Mexican-American community. Jeb Bush says that he will not vote for Trump or Clinton. Trump reportedly offers the vice presidency to Kasich, saying that he will be in charge of both domestic and foreign policy, and will be the most powerful vice president in U.S. history. Kasich declines. Trump reaches a delegate majority, clinching the nomination. Trump says he will debate Bernie Sanders one-on-one. Trump changes his mind on the Bernie Sanders debate. Trump says that he'll fix the drought in California.
We're going to solve your water problem. You have a water problem that is so insane. It is so ridiculous, where they're taking the water and shoving it out to sea.
Trump says the judge presiding over his Trump University fraud case cannot be impartial because of his Mexican heritage.
I've been treated very unfairly by this judge. Now, this judge is of Mexican heritage. I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall. I am going to do very well with the Hispanics, the Mexicans.
So
everybody.
no Mexican judge could ever be involved in a case that involves you?
He's a member of a society where, very pro-Mexico, and that's fine. It's all fine. But I think
that you're calling into question
he
his
should
heritage.
recuse himself.
Because he's
then
Latino.
you also.
Kasich is asked if he would endorse Trump.
My wife and my daughters have watched this. And if I were to turn around today and endorse him, they'd be like, why, Dad? And that matters to me. We'll see what he does. He has a chance to move to the positive side and unify this country.
Trump would never get Kasich's endorsement. In fact, Kasich would go on to campaign for Joe Biden in 2020.
Joe Biden is a man for our times. Times that call for all of us to take off our partisan hats and put our nation first for ourselves and, of course, for our children.
Rubio flip-flops, now saying he will run for re-election to the Senate. The Trump vice presidential shortlist is narrowed down to 3 names: Chris Christie, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, and former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. Trump picks conservative Indiana Governor Mike Pence in order to shore up the evangelical Republican base. Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, George H.W. Bush, George Bush, John McCain, and Mitt Romney all don't attend the Republican convention. Along with many other establishment Republicans, Trump is officially nominated.
Mr. Speaker, it is my distinct honor and great pleasure to nominate Donald J. Trump for the office of President of the United States of America.
Ted Cruz gives a speech at the convention, but does not endorse Donald Trump.
Stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom. I appreciate the enthusiasm of the New York delegation. And God bless the United States of America.
Trump formally accepts the Republican nomination.
Friends, delegates, and fellow Americans, I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States. I am your voice. USA, USA, USA.
And in maybe an even bigger surprise than his primary win, Donald Trump will go on to defeat Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton to become the 45th President of the United States. But that's a story for another time. Thank you all for watching. This video took me hundreds of hours to make, so please like and subscribe. It means a lot. Also, let me know in the comments if there's any other elections you'd like me to cover. Thanks again, everyone. Until next time.